Hello, everybody. My name is Alesh Eisner, and welcome to the Canadian Money Talk. Today is a special edition. I have my friend Rob from the Mindfull Investor YouTube channel, and we wanted to do a podcast about dividend investing. So, welcome everybody, and let me introduce Rob once again.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me to this podcast, Alesh. Let's get started. I was going to ask you this question. So, let's say if I do stop at a mill, and so in that instance, should I just sell off everything that's non-eligible and convert it into eligible? Because I have like index funds which replicates S&P 500. Those are all US companies. So those aren't eligible at all. And then
No,
I have REITs. So I have a bunch of those. That represents maybe like 30% of my portfolio. Should I just sell them off and then convert it back to these Canadian eligibles to maximize this 50K?
well, I mean, that's up to you. Especially, you should ask yourself whether you're able and willing to live on 50K. All right. The high level goal is happiness, and underneath that is to have the most money. It's not to minimize your taxes. It's to have the most money to spend so you can go on cruises and buy whatever you want. So, uh, I've bought stocks which paid 4 or 5%, but they took a 15% downturn, and I'm like, well, it's paying a dividend, but I'm still down 10%. So, uh, if you're buying Manulife, that's constantly between 18 and 30, and that's sort of its range, and it keeps paying its 4 or 5%, versus the S&P 500, which averages 10% a year. Well, that's where the best return is. So who cares that on the 2% yield they're dinging you 15%, and then you're getting taxed heavily on it. You're getting capital gains which are going to outstrip anything. I'm using. I don't mean to beat up on Manulife. It's one of my bigger holdings, but it's you have to look at the total return after taxes. So I mean that would be my suggestion. There's people who swear by dividends. This is sort of like stocks versus real estate. You can have this debate forever. Do you want growth stocks and get the capital gains, or do you want uh, stocks that maybe don't grow so much but they pay a nice dividend? You talk to Kevin O'Leary and he says, I'm not investing anything that doesn't return money to shareholders. And then you have people who say, why give shareholders dividends if you should be investing that money back into the company to make the company grow? And that's how you provide money to shareholders, and that's how you provide value to shareholders. So it just depends on your philosophy and how you see the universe, I guess. I sort of favor dividends, but I'll buy stocks without dividends. And
Yeah. No, but I mean like my accounts have purposes, right? So
okay,
I have different accounts for growth. So if this one is purely for Canadian dividends, and when I reach that goal, I should switch everything back to Canadian dividends and just max that 50K and just leave it at that.
well, but your taxes are going to be on all your portfolios together. You can't isolate them. So you're not going to be,
Yeah.
the 50 is going to be added to whatever other income you have to get you that tax bracket. So you'll be paying something on the eligible dividends. It's always going to be less. You look at the tax table for BC, it's going to, I think capital gains start winning once you get to like $150,000 income. The eligible dividends are more than that, more than the capital gains taxes up until, or sorry, after that. But until 150,000, please consult your local tax table. But until until you get to 150,000, the eligible dividends have lower taxes than capital gains. So, but my point is, if you can make significant capital gains, then do that. Don't stick to 3, 4, 5% dividends, because like if you bought Shopify or Tesla at the right time, like you're all set. While if you bought Royal Bank, yeah, it went up a little bit and it paid you for 4% or 5%, but like you're not gonna beat 5,000% or whatever the heck Tesla went up. So uh, you know you can have a mix of both, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, you structure your portfolios very very logically. If you want to have a limit at a million, sure, but I mean, you can keep letting it go as well. It's up to you.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's just that mindset of like just reaching that goal and anything on top, I'll reach another goal. I have different goals. I'll max out the other accounts I have. I have like 8 different accounts, right? So, um,
Well, you know, for financial independence, you're supposed to have multiple sources of income. Maybe thinking of it this way. So some rental income, some uh, consulting income, some investing income. Well, you can split your investing income into a couple of different streams. One is dividends, which are generally going to be safer because you have bigger companies that are paying the dividends, usually, not always, but most dividend payers are large. And then you have kind of your growers, the ones that there's a chance that they'll go bankrupt, but there's also a good chance that they're going to do really well. So you can think of them as a different source of income and kind of construct your portfolio that way.
yeah. Oh, I'm also curious as to your stock account. So is everything under one account for you? So you just open it up and there's like 80 stocks in there.
No, I sort of joke that I sort of started running my own mutual fund, except it's not professionally managed. So no, I have for tax purposes, I have TFSA and RSP. Then I have a corporate, non-registered, obviously, trading account, and then I have both U.S. and Canadian. So I have two corporate trading account, but they're both non-registered, and one is in U.S. dollars, the other is in Canadian. And then I have a non-registered that happens to just have mutual funds in it, but it could have other things. And then I have a margin account, both U.S. and Canadian, that also non-registered. So yeah, it's divided for tax purposes, TFSA, RSP, and then everything else. But because I'm incorporated, I have very separated accounts for the corporation because that's a separate entity.
So you have
So
like 4 different logins?
no, Qtrade after much phoning and filling out of forms, I kind of have it all underneath. So I have
Oh, that's nice.
one
That's
nice
nice.
big title.
Uh,
Uh, yeah, I mean, some people go to other brokerages in order to do what those brokerages do without fees. Um, so there's Interactive Brokers, for example, I think doesn't charge any fees, or is it Wealthsimple?
right now the fees are minimal, anyways.
Okay, Interactive Brokers charges a little bit. I think
Yeah,
Wealthsimple doesn't charge any fees for trading,
yeah,
but it has to be Canadian, right? And then, then Questrade, for example, doesn't charge you anything to buy ETFs.
yeah.
So, I could have three different brokerages depending on what I wanted to do, what I wanted to buy. Um, I sort of bite the bullet, and if I'm making larger purchases, I'll pay my 695 for a $5,000 purchase, so it's tiny as a percentage. And then what I'm doing monthly, the monthly purchases I described, those are all into mutual funds which have no trading commissions. So in order to stay with one brokerage, I'm sort of playing playing their game. Uh, so
It's interesting that like with a bigger account like yours, I think you can negotiate the commissions down.
well, I think it's like I pay 6.95 per trade, both buy and sell stocks or ETFs. Normally it's 8.75 if you don't have at least a half a million with them, or if you're not a frequent trader. Still better than the big banks, which charge 9.95 usually.
Yeah, but you're comparing to the most expensive one, right? So even Wealthsimple is free, as you said, for Canadian stocks. For my interactive brokers is $1 US compared
Yeah.
to $7. That's still it is not much in the grand scheme of things, but like
Well,
for a beginner who is building his portfolio, if he's just putting $100 each time, it's getting 7% knocked off each way.
well, yeah. So, like anybody that I'm chatting with about starting, I always tell them before you choose a brokerage, you need to know, are you going to be doing monthly dollar cost averaging, or are you going to be doing lump sum? Are you going to be doing mutual funds, ETFs, or individual stocks? Are you going to be doing TFSA, non-registered, RSP, RESP? What are you going to be doing? And that way, you need to choose the brokerage that is going to charge you the least fees on what you want to be doing. So it, I mean, it's important. Like, I don't think anybody would be doing, three purchases of $100 each every month and be doing it and paying $10, with Bank of Nova Scotia or something. So they would be going with Questrade and purchasing ETFs because you know that those are free. On the flip side, if you know, okay, I'm going to save 5 grand before I put it in, well, then you can use other brokerages, and you'll pay $5. Or if you do a Canadian purchase, then and you go to Wealthsimple, then it'll be free. So, but then you can only do Canadian stocks, right? And so if you want to have two brokerages and two logins, if you want to buy Canadian and U.S. stocks, then yeah, you could do Wealthsimple and then Interactive Brokers, for example. I think much like in U.S., they'll eventually start bringing the fees down. Maybe. I think National Bank had something where you could buy stuff for free as well. I remember one seminar that I sat in on. But yeah, you have to do your research, because once you start with a brokerage, you pay fees if you want to move your money somewhere else, and it just becomes a thing. So yeah,
Yeah,
do your
and
research.
the thing with these the brokerages with the banks, let's say National Bank or BMO or whatever, I find that their technology is really behind. Like when I use interactive brokers, I think it's like miles ahead of any other platform. They they even just to log in is just fingerprints. You don't have to type anything in. No card to read off, no security code, nothing, no texting, nothing. Just fingerprints and just you just go. And that's what we want to. That's what I want. Like I want it to be as frictionless as possible. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I stay logged into my brokerage all day, so it's not really an issue for the most part. Like it logs me out overnight, so I have to log in again in the morning. But it takes 5 seconds. My personal theory is that any of these brokerages that have been around for a long time started out with um, an old system, old
yeah,
software, and then as things progressed, they sort of started lagging behind because it sort of worked. But anybody who's started up and running 2 or 3 years ago has the latest software, and so that's why it all looks more slick. I know Qtrade is going to be redoing. their user interface and so on. So I'll see. I actually participated in an interview where they showed me the new interface and I gave uh, my suggestions on it. It's definitely targeting 20-year-olds. So my 48-year-old opinion maybe maybe didn't like it. I'm like, can you fix all the other stuff that I've been asking you for instead, and keep the user interface the same? So uh, like, oh, get off my lawn. So, anyways, so let's see what else we wanted to cover.
Let me talk about another question, like
Sure.
exchanging your funds. Have you ever tried that Norbert's Gambit hack, or you bothered with it?
I did. I did a video about it on the YouTube channel about a year ago when I actually went through it. I got screenshots for when I was actually doing it. It wasn't great from a time perspective because Qtrade insisted on funds clearing and so on. But yeah, Norbert's Gambit, when I sold the house in the US in the summer, I got a whole bunch of US dollars, so I bought some US stocks, and then I wanted to buy Canadian stocks, and I wanted to pay off a line of credit, which I maxed out in March of 2020. So yeah, I did the Norbert's Gambit, and by the time the funds cleared, the dollar had moved unfortunately against me. So, well, I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. Now, a gentleman in my investing club said that if you have a bank account and a brokerage with one of the big banks, Norbert's Gambit is instant because
Okay.
they know the money that you moved over is all good. So then you can get it all done in the same day. I try to find out from my credit union if I converted the money with them, what would be the penalty because they always charge you a spread. And yeah, I was happy I did Norbert's Gambit. I still came out way ahead compared to if my bank did it for me. But it just took time. That's all.
Was it like 10 days or
Um,
everything?
I think it took about 5 business days, but again, it involved multiple phone calls with management at Qtrade. So they're like, "Oh, it's this guy again," trying to say, "Okay, listen, we need to hurry this up. You've got the money. It's come out of my bank account. Here's a screenshot from my bank account. It came out. I had the money. What's the problem?" I think there was some sort of a not a breach, but I think there was some sort of a fraud where somebody moved money in and then moved it somewhere else, and then the money didn't clear, and it was like significant amount of money, and so then they're like, okay, we're holding everything now. So I think that caused some of the issues. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I
have
think it
you done
needs to
Norbert's?
be. No, I never bothered to because I use interactive brokers, and they
Okay,
have this foreign exchange thing. So the spread is like 0.0001, so
okay,
so it doesn't matter for that. And no, I have used like Questrade as well, and I never used Nova's Gambit. I just changed it on their platform, and there's a cost, right? There's a cost like 1 to 1.5%.
yeah,
Yeah, that's on average, and it does add up. I mean,
oh yeah.
let's say every year I put my TFSA 5 grand, so that's like $75 possibly. That could be some extra shares and extra dividends.
It's true. I kind of did a, cocktail napkin calculation, and if you're converting over $2,000, Norbert's Gambit is worth it. If you look at the spread that your bank or the bank charges you roughly that 1.5% as well. Uh, I mean, that's how they make money, I guess. But Norbert's Gambit is worth it if you're doing enough because like I'm also paying 6.95 in order to buy something and then 6.95 to sell it. So there's that $15. The delay, I mean, the dollar could move either way, so you can't really count that. In my experience, it moved against me, but that was a coincidence or an accident. Um, so yeah, if you can do it, see that's where you need to know with which brokerage need to be doing what transaction. So if you don't mind that, and you don't mind getting multiple logins and multiple statements, then that's, there's no problem. I actually get multiple statements as well, one for the corporation and then one personal. So that still happens. So why don't we call it a day? Uh, I've been Alesh Eisner, and this has been Rob from the Mindful Investor. We are going to do more of these podcasts in the near future, so look for those. And I will wish everybody a profitable day. All right.
Thank you.